Jason Goslin. I am the Emergency Management Director at the Vermont Agency of Human Services. One of the things that we are responsible for during times of disaster is mass care. And that consists of many different components to include sheltering and feeding, just to name a few. I'm here with my colleague from the American Red Cross, John Montez, to talk about sheltering during times of disaster and what we can do to support any of the sheltering efforts. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Jason. Thanks for having me. Well, as Jason said, we are a partner of the state. We work very closely with the Agency of Human Services, and whenever there's a mass care operation, we always jump in and help wherever we're requested. One of the things we hear all the time is, what's the Red Cross doing in Vermont every day? So I thought I'd share a little bit about what we do day to day and give you a picture of how the Red Cross is out there in your community. We responded to 110 disasters. That could be home fires, floods, trees into roofs, anything that affects people, and displaces them, we respond. We assisted nearly 685 people in 2025. We worked with the military, and we provided 200 whole health and case services. So that's supporting military personnel, both active duty and as they transition out. We collected nearly 30,500 blood products. We trained 4,200 people in CPR and first aid, 1,900 people in aquatics and water safety, and 60 in caregiving. We engaged community partners to join us in installing more than 280 free smoke alarms across the state. And we also work very closely with the fire marshal's office so that we can also install carbon monoxide alarms when we're doing those visits. And we supported 285 active volunteers who logged nearly 30,000 hours. So as Jason said, we wanted to talk about sheltering, right? And one of the things we hear all the time is, why would you open a shelter? Well, you really want to open a shelter when there's been a qualifying event, in the sense that people are displaced and they don't have somewhere to go, or they can't go somewhere because their ability to exfil or leave, or their access is blocked. So things like floods, and we've experienced this in Vermont the last 3 years. Floods, hazardous materials, windstorms, snowstorms, wildfires, earthquakes, tornadoes, multi-unit fires. We've had quite a few of those in Vermont as well, or other catastrophic events. Big one, extended power outages. We're always watching that, right? It's not necessarily the first 24 hours where we would maybe open a shelter in that scenario, but certainly we could see ourselves being requested later on. But there's more than just shelters that we can support. And so one of the things that we tell emergency managers in Vermont all the time is, you don't necessarily need to go right to sheltering. Because for us, and Jason will confirm this, a shelter is heads in beds. It's putting out the cots, it's keeping people overnight. But there's nothing that says a town with minimal support or assistance can open an evacuation center or a cooling or warming center. You can control your hours. People can come in and charge their devices. You can even arrange to serve food. You can put out comfort kits and warm kits. And people a lot of times will just want that, but then maybe they'll want to go home for the night. But they, especially in those power loss situations, we see that that's actually a more effective tool than opening a full-on shelter. The other advantage to the warming and cooling centers is it requires way less staff to manage and way less supplies. But if you're seeing a high volume of people coming in and people saying they don't have somewhere to go, you can easily turn it into a shelter. And the Red Cross and the Agency of Human Services are here to support you. So if you open one of those centers, you can certainly consult with us, and we will make sure that you have, if you need supplies or materials, or if you even need food delivered or anything like that, we're happy to work with you and help you get the things you need to do your center, and including up to your shelter. There are 3 types of shelters. First is the independent shelter, and we always encourage every community to have a plan for an independent shelter. It's locally managed, locally run, with minimal impact from outside partners and organizations. Maybe your neighboring communities, maybe you do work with some partners, but minimal impact to them. An American Red Cross supported shelter is those are locally managed, locally run, but Red Cross is supplying your supplies, your materials, your blankets, your cots. Or you may say, we don't need all that, but we need people, we need volunteers. Anything like that, we're supporting you, but you're in charge of the site. That's a ARC supported shelter. An ARC managed shelter is more of um, a shelter type where the Red Cross has come into town. We've signed an agreement, we've inspected the facility, and we're running a shelter out of that site. We generally take care of all the material, supplies, food, everything, and then we work with partners to support and fill the gaps that we need help with in the shelter. A common thing we do in Vermont is work with VDART, the Vermont Disaster Animal Rescue Team. Is that right, Jason?
The response
Response
team.
team. We work very closely with them to co-house their operations with our shelters so people can bring their pets and have their pets close by. Another partner we work with a lot in Vermont is the Medical Reserve Corps. They provide medical standby at our shelters. So we work with partners, but we're managing the site. And then in Vermont, a big thing we do is regional shelters. And think of that like think of the regional shelters as pre-identified locations strategically throughout the state that are bigger and can take a larger capacity. And also, they're designed to kind of absorb the impact and help communities. So maybe a community opens a shelter for the first 24 to 72 hours, but if their clients there still need support, by then hopefully the regional shelter is up and running, and we can start to filter people into the regional shelter and get them more services, more support, longer term until we can find a good transition point for them to find suitable arrangements. Jason, do you want to add anything on any of those?
Couple things. Thank you, John. As most are aware, there is a local emergency management plan, and shelters should be referenced in those local emergency management plans. We do, in terms of the regional shelters, there are 8, as John had indicated, strategically positioned throughout the state. Um, and again, chances are, if those regional shelters are going to be activated, the State Emergency Operations Center is going to be activated and would be supporting those regional shelters. Both uh, the Agency of Human Services and the American Red Cross are represented in the State Emergency Operations Center.
So people ask all the time, how does a place get to be a shelter? Well, what most communities do is they use the Red Cross survey and agreement because it provides you with the most comprehensive list of understanding what you need, what your capacity is, your capabilities are. So through our team, and we'll provide the contact info here at the end of the video, you can request a survey and set up for a facility use agreement. There's no cost associated with that. And we will come in as soon as we can. There is a little bit of a delay because we're backed up, and we've been backed up for quite a while because much of the state wants to do it, and many people want to refresh, right? Because you want to refresh it every 2 to 4 years. A lot of times buildings change, contact information change, so it's always good to have us come back around. Um, and then periodically, emergency management directors will also request us to come in and do surveys in their entirety of their communities. So that's another thing we do. And for school districts, we can sign an agreement for an entire school district instead of signing for each facility. So that make it a little easier for school districts to get their facility use agreements done and their surveys done. Big question is how to contact us. So 24/7, the National Dispatch call center for emergency management, police, fire, and EMS, the first responder side is 833-583-3111. If you can't remember that, you can always call 1-800-RED Cross. If the state EOC is activated, then all requests for Red Cross services should come through the state EOC. You can request us through the VEM watch officer at 1-800-347-0488. We've included our disaster program managers who are based in Vermont, and they've split the state north and south. Their contact info is here on the slide, and we'll show it to you one more time. Real quick, this is our team. That's myself. I'm the regional disaster officer. I'm responsible for Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Sarah Lemna is our executive director based in Vermont, based in Burlington. And here are Michaela and Lindsay. If you look, we've kind of, if you know your county and you know your location, you can see Michaela is north, Lindsay is south, and their contact info is on the screen. I'm gonna hand it off to Jason.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that overview. Any questions with regards to sheltering, or if you need any support in surveying your shelter, feel free to connect with John or myself, and you can access my contact information at jason.goslin@vermont.gov. Thank you for your time, and again, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.